Hey Organics, it's Black Diamond. I did a poll and you all said you want to hear about Hazbin Hotel's magic system. So we're not just talking about the magic, we're going to be picking it apart like theology students with too much time, highlighters, and unresolved religious trauma. This is where we treat the Vivzieverse magic system like a real piece of fantasy engineering rather than just sparkles and vibes. I'm going to walk through what I think are the major schools of magic in Hazbin and Heleva and how they interact with souls, beliefs, technology, corporate power, and even what kind of metaphysics you should assume about the afterlife for any of this to hold together. As usual, this is not me pretending I have the one true canon. This is me building a model that I think fits the experience, stress testing it, and seeing how far it can go before it breaks. Let's start with the loudest flex in the room, Razzle and Dazzle. Razzle and Dazzle are basically Hazbin's answer to dragons. They are massive, shape-shifting, clearly ancient creatures who seem tightly bound to the Morningstar family, especially Charlie and Lucifer. I want to call this entire category familiar magic. Not familiar as in I am familiar with this, but which is familiar, as in living magical partner and power extension. If you look at A Song of Ice and Fire, dragons are explicitly treated as weapons of mass destruction that only specific bloodlines can reliably control. The Targaryens dominate geopolitics because dragons let them annihilate armies, rewrite borders, and that control is rooted in lineage, ritual, and training. The books and commentary repeatedly frame dragons as the ultimate superweapon that turns one family into an empire. Razzle and Dazzle function like that for the Morningstars. They're not just pets, they are the living symbol that Charlie's family sits at the very top of Hell's food chain. The fact that they only respond intimately to Lucifer and Charlie tracks with that Targaryen-style idea that a certain bloodline is the key to specific powers. You're not just good with animals, you're metaphysically compatible with the nuclear lizard. You can slot Box into the same category, just with a different aesthetic. His giant kaiju mascot, Shockwave, feels like a familiar that is half brand mascot and half metaphysical avatar for Jumping the Shark. It's the personification of a media empire's power, a broadcast demon weapon he can unleash on the city even Alistair had trouble with. Functionally, it's the same move as Targaryens landing a dragon on your castle and smiling to the camera. We can zoom out and compare this to other media. Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina literally gives us a textbook familiar summoning. Sabrina goes into the woods, offers blood and prayer, and calls out to any spirit willing to accept the bond as her familiar. A goblin appears in the form of a black cat, Salem. The pattern is the same across all three. Power is embodied in a creature. The creature is bonded to a specific practitioner or family. The bond is both emotional and metaphysical, and dramatically extends what the witch or ruler can do. So, familiar magic in Hazbin is not just a random flex, it's a visible tip to a very old trope. Your truest power is not just a spell you cast, it's the beasts that answer when you call. If familial magic is about relationships, the next level of the system is about inheritance and study. The Ars Goetia royalty clearly passed down magical power through demonic bloodlines and their access to grimoires. Stolas and his line use spellbooks that act both as instructional manuals and as metaphysical passports between worlds. That tracks with a very classical demonology idea where knowing a spirit's true name and sigil gives you leverage, which in this case is passed down as noble property. On top of inherited power, the Vivzieverse repeatedly shows magic as something that can be learned. Alistair is the cleanest example. While still human, he summons Rosie by carving sigils, drawing a classic pentagram in blood, handcrafted stick symbols from the ceilings, and performing what looks like an involved blood ritual. That scene tells us several things. First, Humans can access real magic if they get the right knowledge, symbols, and will in place. Second, deals predate death, and those contracts are not purely metaphorical. They alter ontological status. Third, arcane literacy matters. Power is gated not just by who you are, but what you know. There's also a human character in Hell of a Boss who carries a cheap-looking TV show amulet that repels Blitzo. Within the universe, that could mean at least two things. Either the amulet has real pre-existing power and the show just copied its sigil, or belief has retroactively charged it. Enough people watch this fictional demon repellent and agrees that the symbol equals protection, and at some critical mass, the metaphysical economy cashes the check. We see another kind of manufactured magic in Asmodean crystals. They are essentially industrialized, demonic shortcuts for interdimensional travel. No summoning circle, no elaborate rite. You grab one, you punch a hole between hell and earth. They are presumably powered by Asmodeus himself, which suggests that princes can embed their power into artifacts that then function as infrastructure for lesser demons. Alistair's staff is another external battery. We know he's dangerous on his own, but the way the show frames his most dramatic feats, the staff acts as both amplifier and focus. Think of it as a demon wand plus portable generator. You can read this as an echo of classical magical tools, but also as a commentary on how power in this universe is often externalized into objects that can then be bargained for, stolen, or broken. The belief-based reading of this universe becomes unavoidable once you look at Vox and Velvet. Both of them clearly draw strength from viewership, clicks, and cultural saturation. Vox is not simply a demon who owns a TV network. He is television as a predatory organism. His body is a screen, his face is static, his powers are all riffs on broadcast logic. He can hypnotize sinners through the glow of a monitor, hijack perception with glitches, and flood entire districts with a single signal. Velvet does the same thing for social media. Her spell work is literally built from emojis, hearts, likes, filters, and aesthetic. She turns attention into hard light. She weaponizes the metrics. The important part of this is none of this requires worship in the old-fashioned sense. Nobody is lighting a candle to Vox. They are just watching. They're hate-watching, doom-scrolling, background binging, numbly letting his programming run. That still counts. The magic system treats all attention as caloric. The universe doesn't care if you're praising him or dragging him in a reaction video. If the screen is on, your brain is engaged, he is feeding. Neil Gaiman's American Gods runs on a very similar engine. The old gods are weakened as people stop dedicating conscious ritual to them, while the new gods thrive on unintentional devotion. Media, the internet, the personification of modern technology. They don't ask you to kneel. They only ask for your time, your focus, your data. Every advertisement you half absorb, every show you stream while scrolling on your phone, all of that quietly tallies up on their side of the sacred ledger. It has been, Vox and Velvet are that principle turned into demons. They're not powerful because they are old or innately strong. They're powerful because hell has imported the logic of attention economy and given it things. Once you accept that, a lot of the background details click into place. Patronizing Rosie's shop, listening to Alistair's radio show, consuming Valentino's cam content, watching Vox's network, attending a Lilith performance, shopping with Camila, or doom-scrolling Velvet's feed are not neutral aesthetic choices. They are contracts written in watch time and emotional investment. You are giving these overlords bandwidth. You're giving them analytics. You're voting for who gets to dictate perception whenever the mood strikes them. It also reframes some of the smaller gags. That cheap TV show amulet that repels Blitzo stops being a throwaway joke and becomes a perfect little case study. Millions of humans watch that fictional show and absorb the idea that this symbol equals protection from demons. The belief spreads, the expectation solidifies, and the metaphysical framework accepts it as valid code. Hazbin's universe seems to run on that principle, that if a symbol is popular enough and and confidently asserted within shared imagination, reality bends even just a little to honor it. This is where chaos magic becomes a useful lens. Chaos magic treats belief as a tool and narrative as technology. You can borrow any symbol, any god, any pop culture icon if inhabiting that belief gets results. The content of the story matters less than the intensity and clarity of the practitioner's conviction. In that framework, sigils, logos, religious icons, even cartoon characters can all act as a musical interface if the mind behind them is committed. Hazbin looks like what happens when 8 billion people accidentally do that for centuries without realizing it. They pour their fears, jokes, fan theories, advertising, slogans, religious trauma, and guilty pleasures into the cultural bloodstream. When they die, these leftover beliefs congeal into the afterlife. Vox is not just a TV demon. He's every late night channel surf, every this rots your brain sermon, every sitcom laugh track. Velvet is the aggregate of influencer worship, stan culture, cancel culture, parasocial obsession, and the slick little dopamine hit you get when a notification pops off. Even the Overlord's logos start to read like sigils. Vox's V, Velvet's iconography, Valentino's heart-shaped brand, Alistair's antlered radio motif, all of these are repeated visual commands. In a chaos magic system, they are self-reinforcing spells. Every time someone sees that logo, remembers the jingle, or hums the theme, they charge the sigil. So when you see Vox suspended over the city like a walking broadcast tower, or Velvet dropping emoji nukes on a battlefield, that's not just aesthetic flair, it's the magical endpoint of a tension-based economy. The spells work because enough souls believe screens have that kind of power, even if they would never phrase it that way. Now let's talk about souls and who gets to do magic. Lower rank Hellborn demons are effectively mortal. They can grow old and die, which means they are vulnerable in a way that princes and overlords are not. Higher rank Hellborns, like Arskawisha and the Princes of Hell, are immortal in the functional sense and can only be killed by angelic weapons or extremely strong magic. Sinners, once they arrive, play by similar rules. You can shoot them, blow them up, chop them apart, and they will pull themselves back together, but a spear from heaven will end them. The show strongly implies that Hellborn demons and angels do not have souls in the human sense. Human souls are a finite, powerful resource, which is why soul deals act as a battery and a leash. When a sinner signs away their soul in exchange for power, what they're really doing is surrendering a portable metaphysical generator to an overlord who can then plug that into their own matrix. One of the most common magical abilities we see at the higher tiers is materialization. Alistair, Rosie, Velvet, and upper-level angels can casually conjure clothing, props, table settings, cameras, lighting rigs, microphones, and assorted nonsense from nowhere. These are not just minor illusions, they are functional objects. The implication is that once you are operating in a metaphysical plane, matter and energy are more like suggestions than laws. Interdimensional portal spells sit higher on that ladder. Emily the Seraphim opens up a portal to communicate with Charlie about redemption without breaking a sweat, which makes sense given that she sits near the top of heaven's food chain. Stolas, like the arcane baddie he is, uses necromancy, demonic possession, and sigil magic to travel to Earth to save Blitzo. The Asmodean crystals create shortcuts, but we have not seen any of these methods access heaven directly, which fits in the cosmology sense that heaven is heavily firewalled. These travel methods also seem unusable to human souls. Living souls and post-death souls have tightly controlled pathways. Redemption or damnation are the only official portals, which should have given Charlie a clue that there was holes in Vague's backstory, but I digress. Vox, for his part, breaks the rules in a different way. He can convert his body into electricity and move instantly through wires or even ambient power fields. Lucifer can open golden portals, but only within hell. He can also dissolve into red dust. Rosie has a similar trick, but with pink dust. On top of that, Lucifer clearly has some communication pipeline with heaven, given that he was able to arrange a meeting between Charlie and the Seraphim, even if he can't physically cross the firewall himself. So you end up with a stratified system. Lower beings suffer gravity and scarcity, mid-tier sinners and hellborns can sometimes learn specific spells and get their hands on artifacts. Top-tier figures live in a world where space, distance, and matter are negotiable. There's also a strong thematic patterning in the powers we see. The Arch-Goetia royalty have abilities that reflect their spheres of influence. Andreophis manipulates ice and cold. Stolas and his daughter tap into cosmic and astral imagery. The Overlords follow suit, except their themes reflect industries rather than cosmic forces. Husk is deeply tied to gambling and vice. His magic manifests as flying cards, dice, roulette imagery, and flashy sleight of hand. Velvet's powers look like social media turned into battle tech, with likes and emojis becoming deadly hard light constructs. Vox hypnotizes people with television static and broadcast patterns. Pinchas' powers come from his technological adventures, airships, and ray guns. Pinchas also embodies one of my favorite little corners of this system, the mesmerizing snake motif. Culture has trained us to see certain snakes as hypnotic. Disney's Jungle Book leans into this with Kaa, with those spiraling eyes and coiling body literally hypnotizing Mowgli. In real zoology, snakes don't actually hypnotize prey with their eyes. What looks like mesmerizing is often prey freezing out of fear or instinct while a predator sways, adjusts, and rattles. Scientists point out that the old snake hypnosis trope is more myth than mechanism, a projection humans created to explain why small animals freeze when something terrifying stares them down. But here's the thing. In a belief-powered afterlife, folklore matters more than fact. If people resonate with the story cobras hypnotize you, Kaa can put you in a trance, snakes mesmerize their prey, then those narratives become fuel. Pinchas is empowered by what humans think snakes can do. People believe a snake should have that power, so he has that power. When you put that next to Vox and Velvet and Husk, you get a picture of a system where every overlord is a personification of some segment of cultural industry, and their powers are shaped by the stories humans already tell about those industries. TV rots your brain so Vox can invade your mind. Social media manipulates emotion so Velvet weaponizes attention itself. Magic and Hazbin is a mirror held up to our ideologies and misconceptions and facilitating the conditions to make them manifest.
Something out of the crazy quilt that saves hundreds of lives.
Immortality seems like a blessing in theory until you drop it into a place designed to punish you forever. In hell, you cannot die, not really. Your body regenerates, your pain does not. There is no relief, no conclusion, just the guarantee that whatever tears you apart today will have a fresh canvas tomorrow. That is the cruel joke of the Vivzieverse. Hell is not a place where demons torture you. Hell is a place where you torture each other endlessly because the ecosystem incentivizes survival over morality. It's the purest version of hell is other people. You can feel righteous rage or remorse all you want, but the neighbor who wants your spot in the alley is coming back with a chainsaw and better friends next week. Combine that with a landscape starved of resources and the torment becomes self-maintaining. Weapons become currency because weapons prevent agony. A good gun is worth more than a good meal because a good meal can't stop someone from ripping your spine out just because they were bored on a Tuesday. And this is where the magic redraws the map. Magic doesn't simply give you power. Magic gives you exemption. It's a literal exit door for the default torment loop. A sinner with enough magical firepower is not just a glutton for suffering, they're also opting out. They're saying that this existence is a game designed to mutilate me for eternity, that I'm going to break the rules so hard the game crashes on impact. In that context, hoarding souls, hammering out weapons, building armies of machinery and minions, all of it reads like a desperate attempt to outrun the pain. Technology becomes the poor man's spellcraft. Serpentius builds airships because he cannot build miracles. Cherry Bomb forges industrial explosives because she cannot summon hellfire with a gesture. Their inventions are not ambitious for its own sake. They're the stepping stones out of the grinder. Each new bomb or blimp is another day where someone else's head hits the pavement instead of yours. The hierarchy of hell is therefore not simply a matter of greed or ego. It's a matter of who has escaped the baseline punishment and who is still trapped inside. Overlords don't just rule, they get to rest. They get to relax from a single moment without expecting a blade in the jugular. That distance from torment is the real luxury. In biblical theory, hell is a torture chamber sealed by divine judgment. In Hazbin, hell is a torture chamber with doors unlocked and all the prisoners turned loose. They don't have guards. The punishment enforcers are each other. That makes magic not just a utility, but a moral hazard. The moment you have enough power to be above the suffering, you are faced with a question. Do you free others, or do you make them your armor? Magic shapes the world as both class and theology. The more you conjure, command, and control, the less hell actually is for you. The flames get a little cooler, the knife swings come less frequently, the dismemberment stops being a daily ritual and becomes a choice you inflict downward instead of suffering upward. Magic is not the reward for the wicked, it's the ultimate cheat code, and everybody's trying to get their hand on one. When he helps rebuild the hotel in the end of season 1, Lucifer sings "Good Thing We're in Hell" right as he conjures structures and materials out of raw magical force, fueled by Kiki transformed into a Kingdom Hearts-inspired Keyblade. This is not just a joke, it's a lesson in the show's metaphysics. The Veil, in my original novel I Am Become Death, works on a similar principle. It is an extra-dimensional layer where emotions, intentions, and symbolic logic take form, and the geography is closer to metaphor than matter. Hazbin feels like it's playing in that same sandbox. The afterlife is a metaphysical plane where ideas condense into quasi-matter. Things don't obey conservation of mass in the way we understand it because you're not dealing with atoms, you're dealing with concepts that have been given shape. Another useful parallel is The Good Place. In that show, heaven and hell are light and code spaces designed and maintained as high-level simulations. People don't eat food, they eat the idea of food. Janet can create anything she understands well enough to replicate at the conceptual level. But once she is dragged into the physical universe, the magic stops. The plane is too literal, too demanding. The particles refuse to play along. Hazbin operates by that same metaphysical logic. Hell is a place where concepts have bodies. Ideas don't succumb to entropy. They don't operate within the laws of conservation of mass. They can grow infinitely and still appear finite and succinct. They can phase through time and space and travel faster than the speed of light. To be dead is to exist in a place of concept, potential, and the immaterial that predates the material and yet always was and yet never is. When Lucifer conjures building materials, he's not mining stone, he's actualizing an idea of stone in a realm where that might be enough. This also explains why certain conjuring still has limits. Beelzebub can create magical cotton candy and party food because she deeply understands those sensory experiences. She knows the taste, the texture, the smell, the feeling. That complete conceptual map lets her replicate them in the afterlife. Drugs, however, are more complex. She complains that Belphegor is not sharing her drugs. Why doesn't she just conjure them? That implies that her understanding of the chemical properties is not sufficient to reproduce them accurately. In a concept-based reality, you can only create what you understand. This is extremely similar to how I'm framing my magic system in my own book. To conjure something in the veil, you need a deep, embodied understanding of the object's nature, components, and sensations. Otherwise, you're just making a hollow prop and not a functional item. Lucifer's line, "Good thing we're in hell," becomes a recontextualization agent. This level of creation is only possible in a metaphysical plane designed for it. Try this in the living world, and you would be fighting against the dominion of physical law rather than surfing on pure potential. There's a category of magic in the Vivzieverse that goes beyond bending matter or energy. It trespasses into the prerogative of gods. Certain beings can manufacture new minds, not illusions, not puppets, but entities that move, react, and think. Emily gives us the most wholesome version of this. Her golden egg boys crack into existence as loyal, living angel constructs. They're cheerful and mostly functional, which implies that high-level divinity can generate artificial life the way a human might fold paper cranes. It requires some skill and some effort. It may not always turn out perfect, but it can be done. And if that's the entry-level version, then what does it mean that Sarah commanded an entire exorcist army with the rest of the heavenly host being unaware? Those soldiers act with discipline and autonomy, yet we have never seen a singular seraphic nursery. It feels less like a host that fell from heaven and more like someone hit the start button on the celestial soldier printer. Then we pivot to Alistair. The radio demon simply decides, and his black and white henchmenians appear as though generated from a wavelength of uncanny power. The show does not explain whether he crafts them molecule by molecule, drags them from a darker reality, or rewrites the identity of existing souls. Creation is an assertion of authority at the highest level. It places the creator above the created in a permanent hierarchy. It grants them a workforce, an audience, a buffer between themselves and the suffering that defines hell for everyone else. To spawn new beings is to multiply your agency and outsource your vulnerability. It's the industrialization of self-preservation. We like to romanticize creation as an artistic act, but in hell, creation is a political coup. It's not just magic, it's dominion. Because once you can manufacture life on demand, you're no longer just surviving hell, you are overriding it. Creation magic is the closest the setting comes to true godhood, and the terrifying implication is that the ones who wield it don't behave with benevolence. They behave like tyrants who finally unlocked admin credentials. Now we get to deal magic, which I'm going to call Faustian magic. The phrase Faustian bargain comes from the legend of Faust, a scholar who summons a demon named Mephistopheles and sells his soul for knowledge and pleasure. In different versions, he gets a year of service and power before being dragged to hell. That story crystallized the entire Western idea of trading your soul for worldly power. Hazbin clearly builds on that tradition, but adds an extra twist. Deals don't just transfer soul ownership, they become magically enforced contracts that bind behavior. With Alistair, we see this repeatedly. He will agree to help, but always with conditions. He promises to make an acceptable commercial for the hotel as long as Vaggie never asks him to touch television again. He explains how to kill angels in exchange for a favor that he later uses to break his deal with Rosie. He surrenders to Vox under the constraint that Husk and Nifty are freed, and that Vox not lay a hand on Charlie. He bargains with Rosie to repair his staff in exchange for helping stop Vox's superweapon. What makes this fascinating is that these are not just gentlemen's agreements. The universe itself seems to recognize the deal and punish violation. That's very close to how the Aes Sedai work in the Wheel of Time. They swear on 3 oaths on a tiangrial called the Oath Rod, and from that point they literally cannot break those oaths without triggering agony or being unable to move their body to act against them. The oath rod turns language into law in a very literal way. Hazbin appears to run its Faustian bargains on a similar logic. Once the deal is sealed, reality itself acts as the enforcement mechanism. The distinction is that in Hazbin, you don't need a rod. The contract itself, combined with the metaphysical weight of the parties involved, serve as the binder. But the best parallel in animation? Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Bill does not conquer with force. His magic expresses itself through consent. He tempts, bargains, persuades, and tricks his way into access. A handshake becomes submission. The moment someone agrees, he gains overwhelming influence, not through violence, but via permission granted. He can rewrite minds, inhabit bodies, and warp reality only after you let him in, or someone else lets him in through the terms of their deal, like when he invades Stan's mind by taking advantage of the terms of his deal with Gideon. This is important because deals can act as both the source and limiter of power. You can gain incredible abilities by binding yourself to someone like Alistair or Rosie, but you're also consenting to conditions that might later get you killed or boxed in. It's not just greed, it's a high-risk attempt to rewrite where you sit on the food chain. We also see a robust visual language of runes, sigils, and spell circles. Velvet uses a glowing spell circle when she casts her devil emoji snare on Husk. Satan uses one when he strips Stolas of his title and power. Stolas has his own sigil that he uses to summon himself to Earth and to anchor certain effects. Maimon's sigil flashes into view briefly right before he goes full god mode when Fitz pisses him off. Alistair's summoning scene is packed with these elements. Blood-painted pentagram on the floor, symbols that trace the wall, and those eerie twig constructs hanging from the ceiling. Those twig charms look almost exactly like the stick figures we see in the Blair Witch Project, which are called Twanas in some lore and function as a kind of warning or curse. On top of that, we have Veve-inspired imagery around Alistair. In Haitian voodoo, Veve is a ritual symbol, each design corresponding to a specific loa or spirit. The Veve serves as an invitation and a road, a way for the spirit to enter the ritual space. Hazbin borrows that logic, folds it into Alistair's New Orleans horror aesthetic, and uses it to communicate that he's not just spooky, he's tapping into very old tradition where symbols are not decorative, they are address systems. When you see the webs of sigils flickering into place around him, the show is telling you this man is plugged into more than just radio waves. Although these cultural connections were lost on the creator at first and never called out on that, and they treated this imagery as cool aesthetic rather than an homage to living, breathing belief system, my hope is that the show continues to listen and adjust. For all this spectacle, nobody in Hazbin has displayed full rewrite the laws of reality on a whim powers. In fact, the angels look oddly limited for beings who supposedly embody the forces of creation. They can't redeem souls by choice, they can't prevent the rise of powerful sinners. They built a shield over hell, but that shield is destroyed by a machine built with Lucifer as the power input. They clearly fear what will happen if sinners keep gaining magic. The strongest magic we've actually seen is not flashy attacks, but is what I'm calling ontological status effects. Lucifer is bound to hell and can't leave. More than that, he's literally unable to attack sinners. That's not a strategic choice, it's a condition baked into his being. No amount of raw power lets him break it. Alistair carries a similar passive condition, but it works like a buff rather than a debuff. Any electronic that tries to record him for video malfunctions. When he's at his full powers, cameras fail entirely. Even when he's holding back, this image is still distorted. He warps the medium itself. These aren't spells you cast, they're traits, almost like curses or divine permissions that permanently alter how reality responds to you. They're very reminiscent of the Seven Deadly Sins anime, where the Demon King's commandments and the Supreme Deity's graces impose automatic effect. The commandments are literal curses that punish anyone who violates specific conditions around the demon who carries that commandment, and graces do similar effects on the goddess side. In both cases, you're not choosing to activate the effect itself, it's a part of your existence. When you combine that with the fact that deals can permanently shape what a person can and can't do, and that heaven itself operates under constraints, you end up with a universe where the most powerful magic is not the spell of the week, but the hard-coded rules of who you are allowed to be. If the angels could just snap their fingers and delete hell, there would be no story. Instead, we have a layered mess of bargains, curses, bloodlines, and belief loops. Putting it all together, Hazbin Hotel's magic system is not cleanly hard or soft. It's a hybrid. At the bottom, you have scarcity, violence, and people scrambling for guns and explosives. In the middle, you have learned rituals, artifacts, sigils, and bargains that let clever or desperate beings punch above their weight. At the top, you have familiar bonds, lineage-based power, belief-fed overlords, and ontological conditions that shape the entire plane. Floating across all layers, you have the afterlife itself as a conceptual space where matter is idea and idea is leverage. It's a world where chaos magic's belief is a tool idea and Faust deal with the devil motif meet American God-style attention economies moved into a good place-style metaphysical architecture and then got filtered through a queer Broadway Gothic aesthetic. Which is exactly why it feels so rich. It's not one system, it's several layered over each other, sometimes cooperating and sometimes cutting across each other's grain. And of course, it could also be true that Vivzieverse and the crew may not have thought that deep. This was my attempt to map the magic system of Hazbin Hotel as if it were a fully designed fantasy RPG rather than a whatever looks cool this episode. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you buy the idea that belief is the real engine of the magic of the Vivzieverse, or do you believe that it's strictly bloodline and artifact based? Drop your theories, corrections, and unhinged lore charts in the comments. If you enjoy diving into this kind of overthinking where we treat cartoon demons like graduate seminars, subscribe, hit that like, and share with one of your friends who will write a 3-page response.